Brad. Deborah? Same question. What do you see as the investment criteria that you look for, and what companies have you invested in locally or looking at locally currently?
I would like to also start to address just to be a little bit more optimistic. Obviously, things are not going well, but there is a little bit of optimism out there. I mean, we still have the drivers of the need for energy independence, the need to replace a deteriorating infrastructure, energy infrastructure that's falling apart, the need for lower cost energy, the need for cleaner energy. So I think you still have a lot of drivers in place. And a lot of interest in government. So not too many people know about the first stimulus package had a very, very large alternative energy component to it. And it's not talked about a lot, and I think it's something that you should go home and Google if you're interested in reading more about it. I have some of the highlights. I'm not going to bore you with it. I have some of the highlights here, but if you want, I can give it to you after. But that to me was a very interesting indication of where people in government's mind is at and how the economy might be stimulated. From an investment perspective, if you do have cash and you are investing, the values are very good right now. You can. It's not a good market to go public, but it's a good market to invest. It's also. I think I think that there are some optimistic some things that could potentially help us in terms of what we look for. I mean, I think we look for very much. We have a little bit of a longer. We don't have as much a long view as Andy, but we are sort of in the middle. And we look for great management. We look for tested and proved technology. We are invested in a couple of Los Angeles companies. I was looking at our investment geography this afternoon, and in fact, a lot of our investments, a huge majority of our investments are headquartered in California, not necessarily Los Angeles, but California. So there is a lot of innovation and business building in California, and a number of our companies are here. We're invested in Miles Automotive, which is a Santa Monica-based company, Ultra Biofuels, which is it's moved recently, but it's a LA area company.
Thank you.
Same thing? Well, what I would say is that, given the environment that we're in, which is impossible to predict where it's going to go, given the fact that, oil is now down to $1,450 a barrel, and that maybe at least the short-term luster may be off of the attractiveness of energy-related sorts of things, now is certainly not the time to ignore fundamental aspects of investing. And so I think now more than ever, investors are looking for teams of people who have proven management, who've been there, done that, proven the ability to form a quality team and to execute. They're looking for large opportunities, generally not interested in smaller niche markets. They're looking for strategies to capture and dominate or capture and carve out and sustain a sizable share of market. That generally means that they've got some advantage related to technology or relationships that are going to enable them to sustain that. Just being first isn't good enough. And they're looking for reasonable risk-reward kinds of relationships. I mean, as has been pointed out, valuations are more attractive now. But I think even more than that, we need to be looking at the ability of companies to withstand this environment. So whereas it might have been okay to give a company enough capital to last for 6 to 12 months before they needed to raise additional capital, that's just not okay anymore. I mean, if you don't have the ability to last, 18 months or longer with the capital that you're going to invest today, it just doesn't make sense, because the absolute worst thing that can happen to a company is to run out of money and not have more money available. So for me, all of the aspects of clean tech, green energy, these sorts of things are areas that interest me. But unless the fundamentals are there, then none of that really matters. So I've made a lot of investments in Southern California. None of them currently, I would say, really fit into this category. But outside of the area and also in California and elsewhere, I've invested in such things as a company that's manufacturing electric motorcycles, super high-performance electric motorcycles, companies that are working with biofuels and catalysts to make those processes more efficient, companies that are using tidal and currents to produce electricity, wind energy, those kinds of projects are the sorts of things that I'm interested in.
Well, I think generally we are, Ken and I are in a very similar spot because we both invest very early on. So I think I would answer the question similarly. Whereas we certainly now need to look at the fact that the companies we invest in will have to have much more cash or a longer duration to just last with their current burn rate. So the idea is either you raise more money or you sit on the money for a longer time, which means to decrease your burn. If you decrease your burn, the problem you're looking at, it could very easily just hamper your ability to grow. And when you come in as early as we do, not growing is a real issue because the first couple of years are so important. I mean, you're really proving your market, and if after 2 years you haven't made any money or you're in a position where we don't believe you're gonna grow much further, then it's going to be very difficult to attract new capital. And that's a real issue, I think, for anyone that is an early stage investor at this point. So I don't think it's a great time to be an early stage investor. At the very same time, it's a fantastic time to be an early stage investor because if you have the patience to really work with a business and to stick around and to put in place a really definitive plan you can stick to for a year and a half or 2 years, I think 18 months is a pretty good median. Then you have an opportunity to ride out this market, get fairly attractive terms. I mean, ultimately, if you're an early stage company, you come to us right now or to any VC firm, not that we want to take advantage of the fact that it's a very bad market out there, but at the very same time, the market just dictates that we get lower valuations and therefore a larger ownership stake in the company. So that's just a natural thing that's happening right now. So again, it's a good thing and a bad thing to be in my position right now, but typically what we're looking for is very similar to what the rest of the group here is looking for. We look for a very strong management team that has just a significant amount of passion, and specifically when it comes to the green tech field, we're looking for people who not just are passionate, but can execute. I think it's so important to be able to execute in this marketplace because you got to stick to what you're good at, but you also have to make sure that you can ride out this possibly 1 to 2 to 3 year downturn. I think locally speaking, there's about our firm is really more of a local investor anyway. As much as we focus on the West Coast of the United States, I'd say that 80% of our companies are either in Southern California or maybe 95% are in California, generally speaking. So for us, it's a natural thing to invest locally. I enjoy it if we're within an hour, of our portfolio companies. If we can fly there and be there within an hour, I'm fine with that too, but I prefer if they're local. There's a bunch of companies locally here in LA that we have invested in over the years. Probably one of the more notable ones is called Virgin Charter, which Richard Branson partnered with us on. They're located in Santa Monica. Their whole premise is that 40% of all private aviation flights in this country actually fly empty. They're called dead legs. And the idea that you create that much pollution for no apparent reason just makes absolutely no sense. So we tried to figure out how to make this work, and the idea is that you create a centralized platform that can track all of the private jets in the country and therefore create sustainability. And that's something that we really like. We like industries that are not infrastructure based. We like industries where you can really have a disruptive technology be utilized to either decrease pollution or just increase efficiency.